If you are itching to get out of the country, Mexico is one of the places you can actually go to right now. There's not a lot of places that you can go internationally, unfortunately, right now. But if you're having that itch to travel, like so many of us are, this is a great place to do it. I spent about 3 weeks there last year, and I've done my fair share of travel, and Mexico is definitely one of my favorite countries. We got to travel starting in Mexico City and all the way to the Maya Riviera in the eastern part of the country. So I'm gonna kind of hit some high points today and just show you some of my favorite things, and also talk to you a little bit about what an enchanting trip looks like in Mexico. I think most of you guys on the call have already traveled, so you know what to expect, but it can be a little bit different. So I want to kind of tell you why you should go to Mexico with us and kind of the value we can add if you guys do decide to do that. So I'm going to break it down into 5 categories of why you should go to Mexico. One of those first ones is food, and you can see from that picture, I love food. Um, we did a food tour on the first night in Mexico City. This is something that I definitely recommend, even if it's not in Mexico. Doing a food tour the first day or the second day you're in a place gives you a chance to sample a lot of different things, and then you can just go crazy the rest of the trip and try all the stuff that you know you like already. So definitely a highlight for me is the food. The culture there is amazing. Um, there's so much variety there. I grew up eating Mexican food on a regular basis, and had always heard that Americanized version of Mexican food is different. And now I can vouch for that. It is quite different, and I have to say it's much better if you're in country. You can see some of the dishes there that we got to taste all of these things. Street food on the top left, the corn there, that was definitely a favorite of mine. Something that kind of goes hand in hand with the food there, and a good place to do it is at local markets. So we went to a local market where we were the only tourists there, the only foreigners, and those are the kind of experiences, at least for me, that really stick with you. The people that were working in the stalls were just so excited that you were there. They wanted you to taste everything. Sometimes not even making you pay for it, just basically shoving food in your face. And we got to try a ton of different stuff that, if you were doing it on your own, I don't think you would end up in markets like that. So definitely an advantage, and we'd love to kind of show you where those places are. So the second reason I think you guys should go to Mexico is the history. You can see my lovely coworkers here. This is our group that got to travel around doing our first trip to Mexico. And you can see in the background all the historical architecture. This is actually in Mexico City, and it is a view from the hotel that we stayed at. So another huge advantage is we can tell you the best places to stay. For example, this hotel sits right across from the main square, and this is the balcony where you can have breakfast every morning. If you want to have a nice dinner, they take reservations. Something else I would recommend. It really comes to life at night, and you get to see the city from a different perspective. Going along with history there, really close to Mexico City, there's really impressive pyramids called Teotihuacan. Before I went, I had no idea. I think this is common knowledge for some people, but this structure is massive. If you look close enough, you can see they look like ants, but those are actually people that are climbing the pyramid. We did that, got some amazing pictures from the top. The guides that we work with there are happy to tell you as much or as little as you'd like to know. So, kind of like Katie mentioned, the idea is that we make the trip exactly how you want. So, if you're not into history, we don't have to tell you everything. If it is something that's a specific interest of yours, the guides are great and they can tell you everything about this pyramid. Another of the famous landmarks is Chichen Itza. This is probably the most well known in Mexico. We did this toward the end of the trip. If you are craving some beach time, you can do this as a day trip from the beaches on the East Coast. It's actually near Cancun, so it makes it easy. You can fly directly in. And one of the great things about doing Chichen Itza with us is because we'll take you at the best time. We went early in the morning. I'm not normally a morning person, not looking to go super early, but this is something that was definitely worth getting up for, because when we got there, there was hardly any people. We actually got to have some pictures with the pyramid and only us, so nobody else around like you're seeing in the background there. We did stay for a few hours, so by the time we left, it was pretty packed, and it really does change the experience. So we're happy to give you those kind of tips and actually work with you on when it makes sense when you're feeling comfortable to go. The third thing that I would recommend for you guys for a major aspect of Mexican trips is the charming towns. So we got to go to many colonial towns. Oaxaca is really famous for its mole. Kind of going back to food again, that's definitely going to be a theme of my presentation. They're famous for it. If you've never had it, this is a great place to try it. I had never had it and fell in love. It's really unique dish, and I think if you get it there, it's going to be unlike getting it anywhere else in the world. Another small town that we visited, and it was actually my favorite one along our route, it's called San Cristobal. It sits in the mountains, so bright and colorful, has great energy, local markets, great food. In the next picture here, you'll see the famous church that sits right in the town square. And it's just gorgeous. I mean, the people there are just so friendly. Just has a vibe to it that it's not some it's not like any place that I've been to in North America. It's such a different type of history and culture there. That place really stuck with me. The fourth reason that I think you guys should go to Mexico is the people. This is also a picture that I took in San Cristobal. So we were just hanging out in the town square. This is not a festival, not anything special that I learned later. This is just how they live there. This is their way of life. So we were actually eating, and we heard music start to play. We came outside. We see a small band going, and once the music started up, the locals just started dancing. And yeah, like I said, the energy there is amazing. I'm not a dancer, but this will get you off your feet. So definitely recommend San Cristobal if that's the kind of scene that you're interested in. Another thing that goes along with the people category is our guides. So we had two amazing guides on our trip. Both happened to be called Juan. So we called this one Juan number one. Juan number one was so personable. He actually has several degrees in Mexican history. So super qualified to tell you about the history of the country, and not only qualified, but just really eager to share his knowledge. Some of the most memorable things from our trip our conversations with our guides where not only are they telling you about the history, but telling you about their family, their way of life. It just kind of paints a picture of what their everyday life is. And yeah, I just found that experience really unique talking to the Wands. So in the next picture here, you'll see Juan number two. He was a fellow food lover, so he was really excited to take us to his favorite restaurant here. And he actually recommended 5 different dishes since there was 5 of us, which is a really cool way to do it. If you don't mind sharing, we did it family style. That way you can try 5 different things. And everything we had was delicious, not like anything I'd had here in the US when I've had Mexican food. So great food experiences throughout the trip. The last thing I'm going to talk about as a reason to go to Mexico is the natural beauty. So I think most of us think of beaches, all-inclusive resorts, and I just found that Mexico has so much more to offer in the way of the outdoors when it comes to the different things that you can do in the variety. So this is actually just outside of Mexico City, gorgeous mountains. We actually went to a lake. The color of the water was unlike anything I've seen before. You could go swimming, you could go kayaking. We went to waterfalls. And these are things that I really didn't know existed in Mexico. I mean, you can assume, but when you see it firsthand, you kind of feel like this should be a bigger deal. People should know about this. The next thing you're going to see in the picture here, these are called cenotes. So if you haven't got to experience a cenote, this would be one of the things I would put at the top of the list. Mexico has the largest underwater cave system in the world, and most of it runs in the Maya Riviera, which is near Cancun. And there's tons of them. There's literally hundreds you could go to. We know the best ones. The best experience is if you can get there at the right time, which is usually early in the morning or late in the day, so you can get it to yourself like you see in this picture. The water is crystal clear, perfect temperature for swimming, and you'd be shocked at the number of fish and the variety of fish that you're going to see there. We actually went snorkeling, and while we were snorkeling in one cenote, there were scuba divers about 20 feet under us shining their light, which allowed us to see everything that was underwater. And it was really spectacular and unexpected. I did mention a little bit ago about all inclusives, and there definitely is a place for that. That's not so much our specialty. We do more experiential travel, but if you want to go to Mexico and have part of that be relaxation, there's a lot of great places to do it. This was a picture my colleague took. She went to an island called Isla Holbox, which is a little bit north of Cancun. So again, easy to access. No cars, it's totally sand island. They've got the hammocks there waiting for you. Just a great place to kind of take it easy and read a book. We chose to go to Isla Mujeres instead. It's also right off of Cancun, only about 45-minute boat ride away. There are some roads and some cars, but the means of transportation that most people use is golf carts, which creates a really kind of cool community feel. We rented a golf cart for the entire time we were there. Went around, we went snorkeling, went and saw turtles, great seafood there on the island, and just a cool way to experience Mexican culture. Everyone was so friendly and eager to talk to you. So that's my presentation on Mexico. If you haven't been, it's too close to home to miss. It's really something I feel like all Americans should take advantage of, and now's really a great time to do it. I just spoke to a guest that was there recently and was doing a scuba diving trip and said they were the only tourists around. So if that's something that interests you, I definitely would take advantage of it.